Grand Rising, loved ones. Welcome back to another episode of Healing Wisdom with me, your favorite spiritual advisor, Empress Oracle. Okay, so we are doing the Survivor series where I'm talking about all of my sexual assaults one by one. So we're on day 2. So this is going to be the second one, which actually was the worst one that happened. But, I'm not as emotional about it because, like, as I said, I'm healed, but I've actually spoken about this one before a time or two. So, it's kind of. But anywho, so the second sexual assault that I went through, ooh, what a story, child. I was about 19 years old, I think. And I was, I decided to go away to school and I went to Valdosta State University. That was my dream college that I wanted to go to. But, I was a teen mom. I had my daughter 6 days after I turned 17, and I also graduated at 17. So, I took a little break to be a mom, but I still wanted to experience the college life and go away to school and whatnot. So my mom, she said that she would, take care of my daughter and I can go away and have the college experience. And I would come home on the weekends because, I had friends from high school who went there as well. So everything was goody, right? So, I'd be on campus and I would always, I would always see people. I'm friendly. I'm talkative if I like you, right? So, I was a little social butterfly back then or whatever. I was a prankster too. I used to just love having fun, but that don't got nothing to do with the story. Let me get back to it, right? So I would always see this guy on campus and like it would be, when you be on the yard or whatever, just kicking it with people, everybody chilling. And there would always be this dude and we always had jokes. He was cool. Like everybody was cool. So, I would see him all the time. So we became cool and everything. And so I assumed that he went to the damn school too. So people always used to be like, they used to be like, don't fuck with the locals. Don't fuck with the locals. That's what they call the people from Valdosta. But me, I am friendly. I'm nice to everybody. So I remember sometimes me and my homegirl, we would hang. Look at that. We would hang with these guys. They were locals. They was cool as hell. We'd have us a good old time, doing drugs and drinking and, all the fun college things that you like to do. So this other guy, I didn't think anything of it because as I said, I would always see him and we'd just be kicking it, laughing, joking. So I remember I think it was a Friday night. I don't remember what night it was. It was no Friday night. I know that because it definitely was a night where I had no damn business going out anyway because finals were coming up for the semester. And I had already been having a hard time. I only went to Valdosta State for one semester now, mind you. But I had a hard time with everything from the time I got there. I had issues with everything. My fucking roommate was a jealous bitch, and she used to always try to be like me. Crazy. And it was just like none of the girls liked me. What else is new? And I had problems with everything from my financial aid. I didn't get my textbooks on time, so I had to share books with people. And I was just doing, it was all bad. It was all bad, right? So finals were coming up and then the dude, he was like, hey, what are you doing? You want to come kick it? He said we was going somewhere. He said somewhere it was like a card party or a kickback, something like that. But me, I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I didn't think anything of it. So he was like, okay, my friend gonna come get us. I'm like, okay, cool. So his friend came and got us. Everything was cool. We ended up going to one of his friend's house, which was off campus and stuff. And it actually was two brothers' house. Well, it was two brothers that were at the house. It was their house, but of course, it was like their mom's house or some shit. But their mom was like gone somewhere, vacation, wherever the fuck she was at. So they were having a kickback. And, everybody, they was playing spades, drinking, playing music, cracking jokes. Like, it was fun. Like, we dead ass was having us ass clapping good time around that motherfucker, right? So then it was started getting late because I had finals the next day, right? So it was like getting late and I was like, damn, I probably should get going or whatever. So he was like, yeah, about that. The guy who gave us a ride, which I had noticed that the guy who had gave us a ride, he had got on the phone, like an hour or so before whatever. And he had walked outside. Like he was like in a heated argument and never came back. I didn't even think anything of it, right? At the time, because I was busy having a good time and stuff. And while I was there, the two brothers whose house it was, one of them was like 16, and then the other brother was like 20 something. So I was like 19, but he was cute though. And he was cool. So we was chatting it up, and he was telling me about himself, whatever. And he was cool. He really was cool. And I knew he wanted to beat these cheeks, but I was like, nah, chill, I don't know you like that. But he was cool though. And then the dude was like, yeah, the guy who gave us the ride, he left. And I was like, what? What do you mean he left? How are we going to get back? He was like, damn, I don't know. Let me see if I could call somebody. I was like, well, is he coming back? He was like, he said he was, but he ain't never came back. So I started feeling antsy and nervous. And the older guy whose house it was, he kind of could tell. He was like, you good? You all right? And I just started getting this bad feeling. And so he was like, well, do you want me to see if I can call somebody to give you a ride? And I'm like, yeah, sure, please. And I'm trying to call everybody that I know because, like I said, I had friends that from high school who went there, who I normally would hang with, but I just, want to do my thing. And nobody answered the damn phone. Nobody answered the phone. I literally called everybody that I knew. For some reason, nobody answered the phone. He was calling his peoples and shit. Nobody answered the phone. So everybody else that was there, they was all fucked up, drinking, smoking, whatever. So literally everybody in the house went to sleep. Now, I was in Valdosta, and at that time, I don't know if you know about Valdosta, Georgia. It's really country, and this was like back in like 2002 or something. They really didn't have much. They didn't have Uber and all that shit like that. I was stuck, y'all. I didn't know where I was, okay, because it's the country, and I used to be so horrible with directions, and I never used to pay attention like I was supposed to, which I don't do that no more, by the way. So everybody else fell asleep, and I'm sitting up watching everybody just laid out drunk because I just had this bad feeling. I could not sleep. And he was like, well, why don't you go to sleep? He was like, I promise you'll be okay. He was like, I tell you what, you could go lay in my room and go to sleep. And of course he came in there, to try to get these cheeks. And I was like, no. But we started talking, and I was asking him questions, and he was like, I'll never forget this, guys. He was telling me like about himself and stuff. And he was like, yeah, I'm on probation right now, X, Y, and Z. And I mean, I'm no rocket scientist, but I know when you're on probation, you're not supposed to be doing drugs and shit because you get drug tested. So I was like, well, probation? I was like, you're on probation. You were smoking and everything. He was like, oh, my probation officer cool. I always pass my piss test. I just took one last week. I passed that shit. I'm straight. And like basically he was just bragging because he was trying to get in these draws. So he was like, hyping himself up, bragging, whatever. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So then it started, I think at some point I finally went to sleep, but I did not go to sleep out where everybody else was because I was not comfortable. He actually gave me his room to go and sleep, and he was actually a gentleman. He really was. I don't remember the guy's name. I don't remember who the fuck he is, but let me tell you, he was a gentleman. Him and his brother. So the next day, I get up and I'm calling everybody. Of course, they probably in class taking finals or some shit. And so I'm like, oh, I'm fucked. This is not going to go well. I was already, barely passing by the blood of Jesus. I think the only class I actually was passing was art on some real shit. Because that's really the only class I get. Moving on. So, I was like, oh, okay, well, can I use the bathroom or whatever? I went and took a shower and stuff. And he gave me like some clothes to change into and everything. And as I was coming out, I noticed, like I heard voices and stuff. And I noticed he had company. And his little brother was there. Some of the other people were still there, but like they were leaving, once they woke up or whatever. And I noticed he had company, so I went into the room to watch TV because I was going to wait until the end of the school day and try to call my homeboy to come pick me up again. So I had to wait. So I was watching, I never forget, I was watching 106 in Park. This is when Free and AJ was on there, y'all. So I was in it. Minding my business in the back. And then he came in and he was like, yeah, we're about to smoke or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. It's his shit. I'm thinking about to go outside. No, everybody comes into that room. I'm like, this is awkward. But I just, like a whole bunch of guys walked into the room and I just felt this vibe and I was just like, oh God. It was this one guy. It was like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 dudes. I don't fucking remember. That came in. Everything was cool. But the last guy that walked in, As soon as he looked at me, his whole face, his whole demeanor changed. It's like he looked like, oh, like hell, like hell. He just got this look. I can't do it. Let me see. He's like, wait up. He's like, it's like he looked at me. He's like hell yeah. Like I'm like, that was the look on his face. Like, yeah, I'm gonna get that. And I'm just looking like, cause I can read body language and shit, sir. So I automatically felt uncomfortable because he just had this vibe. And as soon as everybody walked into the room, everybody's being nice, like, how you doing, Miss Lady? And then they immediately go to start smoking and shit. And they actually started having a cipher. They was freestyling this shit. And I was like, okay, this is cool. But I kept feeling this guy's eyes on me. And every time I would look, he was just staring at me. And I started feeling very uncomfortable. So because of that, I made sure I stood as far away from him as possible. So, they was having the cipher or whatever, freestyle. They was going around the circle, actually. They was passing the blunt. They was going around, everybody's freestyling. And there was one guy in the group who, his eyes, when he walked in, this is another guy. When he walked into the room, it was something about his eyes. He had like really, really kind looking eyes. And he just did not look. His eyes just didn't fit the atmosphere or the people that he was around to me. It was just something about his eyes. And he was real nice. And that motherfucker correct, bitch. Whoo, he was very, very fucking talented. And at that time, I was like, damn, I wish I was Diddy because I would sign this motherfucker. Okay, he was talented. But when they were done smoking and stuff, we were done smoking, everybody started going out the room. And that one dude kind of lingered back and, he kind of tried to push up on me. And I'm like, chill, because he was very bold and aggressive trying to push up on me. And I was like, no, thank you. So he looked like, and just walked out. And I still felt uncomfortable and I still was making phone calls. So I go to use the bathroom. And I go to use the bathroom. I think I'm fucking up some part. It was some order. I missed something. So they smoked, right? And I think I did go to the bathroom. Yes, I didn't miss it. I went to use the bathroom. Oh, sorry. Went to go use the bathroom. And then I heard like the door and stuff. And I come out. And the younger brother that I was telling you about who lived there, who was like 16, he's like kind of freaking out a little bit. And I'm like, what happened? And he was like, the folks just came and got my brother. And, I'm from New York. I'm like, what folks? And he was like, man, this nigga, a probation officer, just came because he failed his last drug test. They took him back to jail. And I was like, I know you fucking lying. This just cannot be real. This cannot be real. This shit really happened after I was just talking to this nigga about the shit last night. Okay? So I'm very worried because, like I said, the guys that had came to smoke were his friends, his company, right? So I was worried. And then, the other guy was there that kept looking at me crazy. So I go back in the bathroom, whatever, because I'm freaking out. But I want to freak out in private. So I went into the bathroom and stuff. And I was like, okay, get my shit together. Got to figure this out. Got to figure out what I'm going to do. So as I'm walking out the bathroom, I noticed that one of the guys was standing directly across because it's like it was the bathroom right here and it was a room directly across. So the guy was standing in front of the doorway for the room that was directly across. And I'm looking like, what the fuck? And I walk out and I go and I say, excuse me. And I go to turn and he grabs me and pushes me in the room and like shuts the door like this. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I look in the room. And of course, the guy who had made me feel uncomfortable was in the room. And he was like, yeah. He was like, okay. He was like, I tell you what. He was like, I'm trying to fuck. He was like, you got a choice. He was like, either give it to me or I'm going to take it. And he said it to me so calmly and rationally, y'all, that I was like, this is not real. I was like, this isn't real. This not happening to me again. Like, this not real. This is just not effing real. Why y'all ain't tell me my hair was sticking out, y'all? Anyway, yeah, I was like, this is not real. It was real. So I was like, okay, I'm trying to play it off and, keep everything calm and everything. So I was like, okay. I was like, let me think about it. He was like, yeah, give you a second, think about it. He was dead ass serious. So I'm like, okay. And I'm like, pretending to think about it. And as soon as like he kind of like looked down or whatever, I took off to the door. Started running to the door. Made it to the door. Opened the door. The big nigga was still standing at the door. Like, it's like he was security. Like, they planned the shit. They planned it. The dude was waiting at the door. So as soon as I opened the door, he pushed me back in. Now, Lord have mercy. I was like, oh, this shit is really going down. Shit is really going down. And mind you, I had told myself, like, this is not going to happen to me again. Not without a fight, bitch. Not without a motherfucking fight. So we commenced to boxing. Me and this dude was in there boxing. We were fighting. When I say we was boxing, when I say we was boxing in that motherfucker, we was boxing. And the thing is, I don't think he expected me to have these hands because I'm not that big. And at that time, I was even smaller. I was about the size 4 around that time because I really wasn't eating. I was just, doing drugs and alcohol. And so, but I still could fight though. And I was fucking him up and he started getting like really mad. And he, somehow like we were on the bed and I'm, guys always try to put their body weight on you when you small. But this motherfucker grabbed the pillow on the bed and started suffocating me. He put it over my face and pressed down with his body weight and started suffocating me, right? And all I could think about was my daughter, my baby. I was like, oh shit, I'm about to die. I was like, this is the way I'm about to die. I was like, this nigga's trying to kill me. I was like, I'm about to die. That's all that was going in my head, and I'm still trying to fight while he's trying to suffocate me. I'm still trying to fight, and he just kept saying, stop fighting, right? And he was like, but yeah, and so he was like, don't make me kill you. So I was like, I thought about my baby again, and I was like, do I want to keep the pussy and die? Or do I just want to, live to see another day and make it home and see my child? So I stopped fighting, right? And he was like, yeah, that's what I thought, right? He felt real good about himself. Now, he was a conscious raper because he had condoms, right? And he's talking to me like it's all normal. And he's just talking to me like it's normal. He's like, yeah, I done did this shit before, X, Y, and Z. Like, he is talking to me like it's normal. He's like, yeah, I've done this before and everything. Ain't no big deal. Ain't no girl ever fought me before like this, though. And, of course, being the Aries god of war that I am, right before he tried again, I made another attempt. And this time, this nigga started kung fu fighting my ass. I don't know if this nigga used to do Muay Thai or some shit, but he did some shit, and I was like, ugh. And then he proceeded to. This was probably one of the most brutal rapes I ever had. He brutally raped me. He was so rough, and of course, I was not excited to be there. So, my pussy was dry as hell, and he was tearing my little insides up. He was very rough with me. He was choking me. He was just very rough. He was very rough. And he was talking to me the whole time. Like this was a regularly scheduled event type shit. Right? And so I kind of disassociated my mind from my body while it was happening. It's like I was there, but I wasn't there. You know what I mean? Because I just couldn't believe this shit was happening. I think I was in shock or something. And he had me in that room all day. I'm going to say it like this. He was like, I'm not going to tell you what he said, but he complimented what he took, which made it even worse. You know what I mean? It's like, how can you be so cool, calm, and casual? Like, I just didn't understand. And mind you, while I was in that room and we were fighting, I also was screaming at the top of my lungs, help, he's trying to rape me. I did every fucking thing that they tell you to do in the videos, just like when they tell you when you see a fire, you scream fire. When you see an intruder, you say stranger danger, all that bullshit. I was screaming at the top of my lungs, and I know there were other people in there. Nobody came to help me. One person came to the door, and it was the younger brother, the 16-year-old brother, and I heard him arguing with the dude, like, hey, what's going on in there? Like, hey, man. And I heard the dude fold him up a little bit. Dude, okay, but he tried. Everybody else, they left. They left the house. They left. Nobody came to fucking help me, okay? Nobody came to help me. The bitch was in there fighting for her goddamn life, okay? So he had me in that room all day. So now, let's keep tabs. I had been there from the night before, smoking, drinking, woke up, had not eaten anything. I was about a good size 4. Been fighting for my life the whole day, getting, raped and shit. I was tired. But I still was like, I'm not tired enough. to close my eyes and give the fuck up because I have to get back home. I got to get back home. All I could keep thinking about was my baby. That's all I could keep thinking about was my baby. After I guess he, because the younger brother kept coming to the door and stuff. But now I'm thinking about it. Why the fuck he ain't called goddamn 911? I don't know. So finally, the dude was like, okay, we about to go. And I'm like, thank God I'm not going to be held hostage anymore because I didn't have my phone on me or anything like that. So when I was calling people and stuff, I could only call people from memory. I didn't have a cell phone at that time. He was like, okay, we about to go. And he was like, come on, let's go. And I'm looking like, who? He was like, you. I was like, I'm not going anywhere with you. I was like, don't you think you've done enough? don't you think you've done enough, sir? Because I'm trying to be calm. But really, my mind was gone. I'm not going to front. But I was trying to be calm, though. And I was like begging, pleading, like, don't you think you've done enough? And he was like, oh, no, you coming with me. He was like, you think I'm just going to let you go so you go to the cops? Because when I tell you this dude had told me his name, he told me he raped girls before. He told me all the crimes he had did before. He told me he got locked up. This nigga was telling me everything about himself. So this motherfucker kidnapped me. This motherfucker took me from that house. It was him and like 2 other guys. Took me from that house. By this time, it was like getting dark. I don't know where the fuck we was. Took me to this other house. But like, we didn't go through the front door. We went through like the back door. I think he did that on purpose as like a scare tactic. It was like the side door. I think he did it on purpose as like a scare tactic though, because when we went back there, it was like this creepy ass shit. The backyard looked like a fucking horror movie. First of all, it was a car on like cement, cinder blocks. It was a car on cinder blocks. It was a shed back there, and it was like some steps, and you go up to like the little side door, which led into the kitchen, which was where we had entered in. Okay, and while he's walking, he's just saying shit, trying to scare me or whatever. And we go into the house, and as soon as we go into the house, there's a guy in the kitchen. And I'm like, can you please help me? I was like, he raped me. I'm not supposed to be here. He kidnapped me. I just start talking. And the guy looks at me like, bitch. And he's like, oh, hell nah. And he walks off and comes back with his girlfriend. It's like, excuse me. And he's like, yeah, we out, and leaves. And I'm like, can I go with you? Can I get a ride? This and that. And the girl looking at me like, bitch, no. And she starts like getting the attitude like, bitch, no. And I'm like, please help me, please. Just drop me out. Like, please. And they looked at me and they was like, and the dude was like, I can't help you, shawty, and bounced. And I was like, this is not fucking real. This is not real. So by this time, I definitely was beyond shock. I don't know what 2 steps past shock is. But before that, I was there. I was hungry. I was tired. I was just going through so many things. And he took me into the living room, and I sat down on the couch and stuff. And he kept trying to like sit next to me and stuff. And at this time, I was like really over it. And I was like, you're not raping me again. You're not raping me again. And he was like mad and arguing with me, but like I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what kind of mental problem he had, because one minute he would get angry and stuff, and then the next minute he would act like I was his girlfriend or something. I don't fucking know, but I was trying to be as calm as possible. I was trying to talk to him calmly. I was like, don't you want to let me go? I was like, don't you have sisters? Like, what would you do if this was your sister or somebody you knew? And he got mad, and he went, like, it was like I was sitting in the couch, and it was like a hallway that went that way, and he went that way, and he came back. Like, he went there, he was gone for like a long time. And so I got up, and I'm trying the doors and shit, and they had the doors that lock from the inside, where you have to take the key, where you have to take a key to lock it, to open it or close it. It was those types of doors. That was my first time seeing fucking doors that lock from the inside with a key and shit. I had never seen that shit before. Okay, so I was literally locked in the house with this nigga, and he was in the back in his room, and he was like, you coming? You coming to bed? I was like, nah, I'm not coming back there. You're not with me again. I sat on the couch, and I was just sitting on the couch, just rocking and praying, just rocking and praying, just rocking and praying. The more I sat there, the more upset he got. He went in the back. I don't know what the fuck he did. I didn't do nothing. I just sat there rocking and praying and crying. Just rocking and praying and crying. Just rocking and praying and crying. Rocking and praying and crying. And I don't know how long it was. All I know is eventually he got up. And I didn't even know there was another guy in the house. I'm sitting there rocking and praying and crying, rocking and praying and crying. And another dude comes walking. He's like, what the fuck? And he's like, who are you? And then the dude comes and he's explaining to him like, yeah, you know, I got, and they're like, it's okay. So then he was like, I'll be back. Watch her. And then the other dude is looking at me. He's like, yeah, okay, I got her. And I'm like, oh. So I'm just rocking and praying, crying, rocking and praying, crying. So the dude who kidnapped me, he left. I don't know where he went. He left with this other guy. The other guy, he sat across from me on the couch playing the video game, and I'm crying. I'm like, hey, can you unlock the door? Can you let me out? And then I started trying to do the windows and shit, and he was like threatening me, like something he gonna beat my ass and do all type of shit. And then he was like, I'll let you go if you give me some pussy. And I was like, oh hell no, I can't do this again. And then he started getting upset and started cursing me out. And he was like, you fucking bitch, this, that, just cussing me out. But I didn't give a fuck what he was saying. All I knew was nobody else was raping me again. Not that night. Not another night. I was just not trying to hear that shit. I just was not. And I don't know what it was. But he looked at me and I don't know what it was. I think it's because I think he kind of could tell I was gone. I was gone. All the shit he was saying, I did not give a fuck. I think he realized that he was talking to me, but I wasn't there. And he was like, something's fucking wrong with you. He's like, get the fuck out of my house. Get the fuck out of here. Something wrong with you. And I was like, okay. So I'm hopping up, not knowing where I'm at. And the door opens and it's the guy who originally kidnapped me and brought me to the house. He walks in with some crystals. And he's like, yeah, I know you hungry. He's like, oh, what's going on? And the other dude is telling him like, yeah, this bitch don't want to give me no, but she don't want to fuck. What the fuck you bring her here? Going off, right? And then the other dude who kidnapped me, he was like, oh, I got you some food. And I'm not eating nothing from you, nigga. But he was like, before you eat the food, he's like, drink this. And he's trying to hand me the crystals cup. And I'm like, no. No. And he also started getting upset. And then there was another knock on the door. And I'm just like, this cannot get no fucking worse. Because now this nigga talking about he want to kick me out too. Which is fine. But this motherfucker was getting upset because I wouldn't eat the food. Because I wouldn't drink the drink. Which tells me it probably was something in there. Right? But I wasn't going to touch that shit anyway. So he was getting upset. But there was a knock on the door. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. The door opens and it is all of the other guys from the original house where I was, with the exception of the brothers whose house it actually was. All the company that had came, it was those dudes. And in walks the guy that I told you had the striking eyes. That it was something about his eyes, and he was the really, really good rapper. He walks in and he sees me and he stops and he's like he walked. I'm a little dramatic. He didn't do all like that, but he walks in. He's like, what the fuck is she doing here? He's like, and he started looking at. He's like, what's going on? He's like, nah. And when he said that shit, dude was like, man, it ain't like that. And I'm like, he kidnapped me. He raped me. And I'm just like, help. I'm like, and I'm just saying it. I'm like, he raped me. And the dude is like, looking like he don't know who to believe, because I'm sitting there like, yeah, he raped me. He kidnapped me. The dude's like, no, I didn't. And he's just looking back and forth. So he sits down real quick. And he starts playing the game, but you could tell he's kind of like, he keep looking at me. It's like, I guess something was by. He just kept looking at me. And I'm just sitting there just rocking like a goddamn crackhead, just tears. I didn't give a fuck. Tears running down my eyes. I ain't ate in 2 days now. And I'm just rocking back and forth. I'm starting to feel weak. I'm feeling faint. My head is foggy. I'm just feeling all out of it. But I refused to pass out. I refused to close my eyes. I just knew if I closed my eyes, if I did anything, I didn't think I was going to wake up. I didn't know what the fuck was going to happen to me. So the guy who kidnapped me and brought me there, because the guy with the eyes kept looking at me and started asking questions, he was like, hey, man, is she telling the truth? And he asked me, he's like, shout it. For real? And I'm like, yes. And then he was like, hey, man, is she telling the truth? So the guy who kidnapped me started getting uncomfortable. So I guess to kind of change the energy or whatever, he turns and flips on me. And he's like, you fucking bitch, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of my house now before I change my motherfucking mind. And listen, before he could finish that sentence, I was like, you remember Family Matters, where Steve Urkel will call her on the phone and ask, can he come over? And before she could say, yes, this nigga over there. That's how quick my ass got the fuck up and out that goddamn door. And I just started walking. It was pitch black at nighttime. we were in the country in Valdosta, so there was no street lights like that. It was all just like, it was just country. It was just country. So it's just a lot of bushes, a lot of trees and stuff. You couldn't see no fucking street signs. I did not know where the fuck I was at. I did not give a fuck. All I knew is I was free, and I just started walking. Something just said walk this way, and I just started walking that way. And as I'm walking, it's like I'm walking and I can't even walk in a straight line. Like I'm just like, and I just felt like I was just about to die. Like I just felt like I was about to die. I felt like I couldn't stand. I was feeling weak, and I'm trying to walk, and I'm just like swerving and stumbling and stuff. And all of a sudden I hear, hey, shout it. And I turn, and it's the guy with the eyes, and he runs up to me, and he's like, I believe you. He was like, I know this nigga did something to you. He was like, do you know where you at? I was like, no, I don't know where I'm at. And I'm just crying and shit. And he's like, I got you. And he takes me back to the original house where I was originally. He takes me back there, and when he opens the door, the younger brother's there. Because remember, the older brother got locked up. So the younger brother opens the door, and he's like, oh my God, where were you? What happened? I didn't know what happened. He was like, my brother had called somebody to come pick you up, and you were gone. I guess he called the person before he got locked up, but they didn't come till way later after I had got kidnapped and shit. And he was like, oh my God, are you okay? What happened? I tried to help you, which I knew he did, but he was very skinny and small and got his ass beat by that big dude, but he did try. So they took me into the house, and the dude with the eyes was like, hey, do you have anybody you can call? He was like, I'm going to try to call my brother and stuff. He was like, I'm going to try to call somebody to come get you, anybody. He was like, because you don't look good. He was like, you don't look good. And I'm just crying. By this point, I'm not even boo-hooing. It's just tears just coming down my eyes. And I managed to call my homeboy. Finally, he answered the phone. Finally. And I couldn't even speak. So they had to tell him, what happened to me, and ask him, can he come get me? And he was like, he'll come get me. And as can you please close it? I'm recording. Anyway, you see what happened when you try to do videos and people just don't respect your craft. But anyway, moving on. So yeah, so he was like, I lost my damn spot, y'all. That was the devil using my family members. But anyway, so he called my friend. My friend said he was going to come get me. So I'm just sitting there on the couch. And as I'm sitting there, it's like I just felt my whole left side of my body just like drop. I just felt like my face just started like sagging and everything sagging. And they're talking to me, and they was like, are you okay? And then the dude, he was looking at me, he's like, oh my gosh. He was like, what's wrong with your face? He's like, what's wrong with you? And I don't know. I think I had like a mild stroke or something. I don't know. But when I tell you I have been protected my whole life, I literally felt this whole side just like droop, like melt, like it just melted. And then I just closed my eyes, and I swear I just felt it just kind of like come back together. I just felt it like come back together, like come back up. And then I was just sitting there, and my homeboy came and got me, and he took me to the hospital. When he took me to the hospital, they called the detective. They did a rape kit. He had damaged my insides, actually. Like he had tore some stuff up in there, damaged some things in there because he was so rough. So they was like, yeah, we definitely could tell you've been assaulted. They, did the rape kit on me and everything. I told him everything I knew about this dude. And my homeboy took me from the hospital to home in Atlanta immediately. Like I didn't want to stay there ever again. So I ended up failing the whole semester because I missed my finals. And months went by, and I'm home and I'm recuperating and stuff. Months went by, and then I'm wondering like what happened with the case, because the police had came. I filed a police report. They had the results for the rape kit and everything. Okay, what happened? Why haven't I heard anything? I'm calling the detective because he gave me his card. I'm calling. No answer. Finally, maybe about 3-4 months later, maybe 6 months. It was a long time later, guys. Finally, he calls me back, and I'm like, so what's going on with the case? He was like, oh yeah, I closed it. He was like, the guy whose name you gave me, he was like, I know him. He was like, I'm actually his parole officer, probation officer, whatever the fuck. He was like, I know who you talking about. He was like, I spoke to him. He said he didn't rape you. He said it was consensual. He said you had sex with two other of his friends too, and they agreed with that shit. I was like, so you didn't think to call and ask me or anything? He was like, nah, I didn't. He was like, well, I closed the case months ago or whatever, so. And I was like, I cannot believe that this really happened. I cannot believe that this is our motherfucking justice system. I can't believe this shit. I can't believe you closed my fucking rape case behind my back. Did not say anything to me. Know the person who did it to me. And just agreed. And I even told him, I said, I'll come and take a lie detector test if you want me to. And he was like, no, it's too late. The case already closed. And I don't know how true that was at that time because I was young, but I know that shit did something to me. It broke my heart. And what little faith I had, I was just like, oh my God, oh my God. After that, it was really hard for me to get over that one. It was really, really hard for me to get over that one. I didn't want to go outside. I stopped talking to all my friends. I didn't want to go outside. I didn't want to be around anybody. And I was like that for a few months, you know? And then finally I was like, okay, I'm going to try to appear normal, you know? Because I was like, I didn't really want people to really know what happened to me, you know? So I was like, okay, I got to kind of, you know, try to appear normal. And so I started hanging around with my friends, but as soon as nighttime came, first of all, if they wanted to hang out with me, they had to come hang out with me in front of my house. That's it. That's the only place I would go. I wouldn't go to nobody's house. It had to be the front of my house in my driveway. And if that sun came down, I was gone. I would not be hanging around them at nighttime at all. And then there was this guy who I went to high school with, and we were cool. And I had known him for years, clearly, and stuff. And we was like real, real cool. And he had always liked me, always wanted to talk to me. So I was like, okay, well, let me move on. He appears to be harmless and stuff, so this should be fine, you know? And, you know, he took it slow with me and stuff. But I remember we was hanging out for a while, and then he tried to, I guess it was time for the first kiss or whatever. And I was already nervous as hell. We was to the front of my house, and he reached in like he was actually, looking at about it now, it would have been really romantic because he reached in like trying to kiss me, but it automatically, I don't know what happened. Like, I automatically just got scared, and I punched him. I cold cocked him right in his nose. I punched him. And he was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And I was like, oh, my bad. And he's like, why did you hit me? And I didn't really want to tell him what happened. So I was just like, oh, my bad. Reflexes, X, Y, and Z. And so then from there, I quickly offered him the pussy because I didn't want him to try to take it. I got scared, and I was like, well, damn. I don't want him to, you know, get aggressive with me or try to do anything. So, you know, before he could try me, I was like, okay. And that's why I say, you know, I ended up getting in a relationship with him, like a sexual relationship with him and stuff. But every time we would try to do it or start doing it, we could never complete it because as soon as, you know, he would get between my legs, it's like it would trigger something inside of me, and I would start fighting him, and I would be like, get off me. I would start freaking out and shit, and he'd be like, what's wrong? Is it me? You don't like me, do you? And I just couldn't tell him. I just couldn't bring myself to tell him, you know, what happened. So I was like, okay, this is not gonna work. So I broke it off with him. I was like, I need some time. It's not you, it's me. I need some time. And I had to go within myself, and I had to really sit myself down like, okay, sis, I had to really evaluate myself, like, Keisha, what's going on here? You know, I had to look at myself. I had to step outside of myself and look and see what was wrong, you know, because honestly, if I hadn't have been through that, I probably wouldn't have had sex with him to begin with anyway. But I decided, I was like, I don't want to be like easy because, you know, I gave it to him because I was scared. I didn't want him to try to take it. So I was like, I can't be living like that. I was like, I can't live like that, because every guy I'm going to be around, I'm going to have that fear, and I'm automatically going to get on the pussy, and then I'm going to be a hoe. And I don't want to be a hoe. And I was like, maybe I should be gay. And I was like, no, I would not want to eat coochie for the rest of my life. So that's out too. So I was like, all right, well, maybe I need to take a moment to myself and just work on, healing myself first before I put myself back out there. I was like, because the next time I put myself out there, I want to be comfortable. I don't want to feel like pressured or scared that they're going to take it. So I just have to give it to them and stuff. So I stopped talking to him, and I was celibate for like 2 years, maybe 3. I was celibate for a long time, and nobody knew why. But I had to get back comfortable in my skin. I had to get my confidence back. I had to find somebody that I wanted to have sex with and stuff. I had to heal myself. So I took that time. I went within. I conquered my fears. I had to tell myself, like, everybody's not going to take it. I had to tell myself, you don't have to feel like just because you're around dudes, you have to go ahead and just offer up your body to them because you don't want them to take it and stuff. I had to reprogram myself from what happened, because I was traumatized. I realized that I was traumatized, but I also realized that I did not want to stay traumatized, and I did not want to be a victim. So I worked on it, and it took me a few years, but I was able to overcome it, that situation. So that is sexual assault story number 2. I'm so sorry for my rude family that interrupted us. But besides that, that's all I really have to say to you guys. And I would be honored if you went and checked out my website, www.empressoracle333.com, for all of your spiritual and aesthetic needs. I don't have much else to say, but I love you, okay? Be safe, guys. I love you.